Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. So we're going to do a really quick ice report here, and then we're going to jump right into the fishing report because we got ice. And we got quite a bit of ice out there. It's been blowing and cold and crazy, record cold all week. Lots of snow. We took a ride down to just a couple of points on the lake just to check things out. And it's like barren tundra out there. I mean, it's like the Sahara Desert, only white. Doesn't look like any crazy drifts, but there's a lot of blow, you know, like almost like potholes of snow drifts out there. So it goes from little snow drift to bare ice, snow drift, bare ice. So the walk-in's going to be a little interesting, especially if it warms up this weekend, which it is supposed to do. So there's some big jams out there, and I'll get to that in a little bit here, what to look for. I know guys have been driving machines at over by Selfridge, up in Fairhaven. We didn't see any guys with machines out at Metro, but it wouldn't surprise me if there'll be machines on the ice this weekend with as cold as it's been, and the thicknesses are up there now. It's, you know, it's pretty darn good for walking, and it's probably time for, you know, at least for augers out there. And, you know, one guy in the group can bring a spud if you're going to be poking around by them jams, but you guys should be pretty good just using augers out there. You're probably going to want augers in most places. So, not much activity to report. Earlier in the week, guys were getting out and they were catching some big perch. They were getting some crappies and gills. It was pretty good crappie bite going on behind the shop there at Selfridge. Everything was up high. If you remember from last week's fishing report, one of the gentlemen that we interviewed back there at Metro Beach was talking about the panfish being high in that dirtier water, and guess what? They were high in the canals behind Selfridge too. As a matter of fact, they were only like anywhere from 6 inches to a foot underneath the ice in most cases. So, you know, if you're in that dirty water, if you find dirty water, which might be hard out there now, try fishing up high. But so this is going to be the first big weekend where guys really get out. There's guys on the spillway right now fishing. I know they're fishing for walleye. They've been picking up walleye at night, anywhere from a couple of feet of water out to 6 or 8 feet. But again, there's been very, very little activity. So you guys this week are going to be really the first ones out there, you know, testing the areas. But you can expect to find fish in all the usual spots. I mean, there's a lot of ice out there. You're not going to have to worry about fishing on patches of snow because you got a whole lot of snow. So here's going to be, I'm just going to give you some tips for what I would be doing if I'm fishing this weekend, which I'm not. I'm going to be here at the store. So there's some big, monstrous jams that have formed out there. Off of the day sail, we were just down there, shot some video. Big jams out, look like about a half a mile. There's jams in other places on the lake. You know, for me, I'm a guy that likes to, you know, go and fish around those jams. But if you are out there by those jams, be very, very careful. Because remember, if that ice is piled up, it came from somewhere. And it's going to mean that you're going to have areas close by that were probably open water, or where water came on top, or maybe where it's separated. So if you're out in those areas, just, you know, use some caution, use some common sense. Same thing with running machines. If you're out there, you know, around them cracks, be careful. So jams are one thing that I would look for this week. The canals are still going to have fish, but you got all that lake you can fish now too. So use the lake to get into those canals, but don't be afraid to fish the canal mouths. You got all those little depressions out in the canal mouths that you can target. There'll also be, generally it'll be a strip, will be kind of weed free in front of those canal mouths. Use your Navionics or your satellite imagery shots, you know, even from the summertime. Those shots are going to show you where the weed lines are. They're going to show you where the weed holes are. They're going to show you where those ripples in the sand are, you know, those little riffles that create low spots where the fish travel. So all that stuff is going to help you guys catch fish this weekend. And I know guys are even talking about going out on the North Channel, which is, that's a little scary of a move for me to try, but I know guys that have done it, and they're gonna try it, I guess, this week, because it's the one shot maybe this year they're gonna get before the warm up. Now, with that said, we do have warm temperatures coming in this weekend. Okay, so that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to create a lot of slush out there, and it's also going to fire these fish up, and it's also potentially going to open up some areas that may have had, like, you know, springs or gas pockets or whatnot that stayed froze during this really, really cold weather. Those areas could get a little sketchy this weekend, especially going into Sunday, Monday, if their actual forecast is true and we hit 50 degrees. So even though there's going to be a lot of ice out there and you guys are going to want to move around a lot, and I'm sure you're going to be catching fish with this warm up, please use some caution and some common sense out there around any of those areas that are notorious for opening up, like the corner of Beacons Cove, the canal mouths over there by Selfridge, the mouth of the spillway. If we start getting runoff, guys, that'll get sketchy in a hurry. If we get a bunch of runoff, it's going to get eaten out from the bottom up. Oh yeah, a couple more tips. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite rigs. You guys chasing walleyes and going after combination perch and walleye out there, especially off of Metro and in the spillway. I've got this set up with one of our custom jigging minnows down here on the bottom. This is basically a drop shot rig, right? So you've got your jig down on the bottom. In this case, it'd be our jigging minnow. You could use a Rapala, you could use a spoon, although I think your swimming baits work a little bit better. And up here on top, you got this is specifically a spin shot hook with one of our eye candy fry, the Goby pattern. But these tandem rigs like this are going to really help you catch more fish out there, especially if you got a lot of sniffers coming around. During daylight hours, those walleyes will come in low, and you'll be amazed that you'll be able to get those fish to actually come in sniff low, and then they'll see that plastic up high. You can use a live minnow up here as well. I've got plastics on because you can change the color for it, so I like using the plastics up on that top drop shot hook. You don't have to use a spin shot. You can use any kind of a long shank Aberdeen. You can use a regular drop shot hook like the bass guys use. Just match the size of the hook with the bait that you're using. So that's one tip. Another tip. This is a chain hook, right? So you got your spoon on top, and you got your chain and your hook down on the bottom. These are a great combination, especially as a second rod, maybe for dead sticking. Like if I'm fishing that first setup for the perch and the walleye, I might have this one down over in the hole next to it, give it enough room so if you hook a big fish so he doesn't run into the line. But you can fish a minnow down there, you can load it up with spikes, and this is a great combination for those fish that are a little tougher when they come in and they're a little more skittish. So a couple of tips for you guys out there. So you got the drop shot rig, you got the chain hooks. Have at her, have a great weekend. I expect to see that big fish board change quite a bit this weekend, and I expect to see a lot of fish and a lot of you in at both stores. Have a great one.